Hey everyone! So as promised, finally, here's the banana bread recipe, and I'm gonna show you step by step what you need to do. So get all your ingredients ready, and if you miss a step, you can just rewind the video and watch it all over again. And if you have any questions, let me know. Okay, so to start, we're going to have our dry measuring cups, measuring spoons, liquid measuring cup, like so, something to stir, like a whisk, and either a rubber scraper or a silicone spatula. You don't need a cat, that one's optional. We are going to be needing 2 bowls as well, a large one and a smaller one. Okay, now we have our loaf pan and also either shortening or pan grease or like spray on grease if that's what you use. I normally just use shortening, and I wash my hands first, then I grab a little bit of the shortening like this, and then I grease my pan. And I'm going to fast forward, but be sure that I will be greasing every single spot of this pan because it'll be easier to take the bread out afterwards. Look at that, all covered in pretty grease. Perfect. So a little quick tip, after doing that, it's easier to just clean your hands with a paper towel or napkin that is dry. It takes off the grease way better than putting your hands in water. And if you want, you can wash them afterwards, but normally with just the paper towel or napkin, gets it off your hands way easier. Okay, so let's start with the large bowl, and we're gonna mix our dry ingredients starting with the flour. So grab your dry measuring cups, and we're going to be putting 2 cups of flour, and I'm gonna show you how I do my measurements with the cups. So I put the cup inside the flour, and I try to always have handy like a little spatula to kind of scrape off any excess, and this is how I normally work it. I shake off the excess, I try to make sure that everything is pretty much even, and I just take it off so that it's very even at the top, like so. And now my second cup, and I'm gonna do exactly the same. And just remember, don't try to push the flour inside the cup. It's just shaking it off and making sure that the measurement is as exact and precise as possible. And it goes again. Remember that baking is a science, so follow instructions and have the exact measurements. So the next ingredient we have is the baking powder. So we're gonna be doing 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder. Get your measuring spoons, and remember the big one, it's going to be a tablespoon. That's not the one we're using. We're using the 1 teaspoon. 3 teaspoons make 1 tablespoon. So we do the 1 teaspoon first. And there it is, 1 teaspoon or TSP. And we do it basically the same. Just dig into the baking powder and try to scrape off any excess so that it's an exact measurement. And now we're gonna do the half. So look for the half teaspoon. Make sure you have the right one, not half tablespoon. So always double check. TSP, half teaspoon. And it goes again. And now the next ingredient is baking soda. I refurbished a jar that I really liked and just marked it as baking soda, so ignore the other part of the sign. And it's half a teaspoon of baking soda, so we're gonna use again the half teaspoon and add it to the dry mix. Now the next ingredient is salt. So just normal table salt. I use kosher salt just because it's me, but any salt will do. Any mix of anything sweet will always have a little bit of salt. So we're using 1/4 teaspoon of salt. See? 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And then it goes again. Then we're gonna be using also ground cinnamon. So it's another 1/4 teaspoon of ground cinnamon. And take off the lid if you have it this way, because we're trying to measure the 1/4. If your spoon doesn't fit into the jar, then try to do it outside. If it does, then once again we do the same measurement of 1/4. And then it goes again. And for the last dry ingredient we're putting in our bowl, we do the 1/8 teaspoon of ground nutmeg. So most teaspoon sets do not have the 1/8. The smallest they normally have is the 1/4. So we're gonna be doing half of the 1/4, which is the 1/8. This is why you pay attention in math class when they're talking about fractions. So we try to get as close as possible to 1/8 and then drop them very dramatically into the bowl. And we're done with all our dry ingredients for now. So grab your whisk or whatever you're gonna use to stir. A whisk is just easier because it'll make sure that all the dry ingredients mix appropriately. So this is how I normally mix it. Since I was a kid, I start from the middle and then just work my way to the outer part of the bowl. And this is me mixing it up. Just make sure that it looks even. See? Pretty much like that. And here's your dry mix. We're gonna be putting it away and working on the other parts. The recipe also says to kind of dig a little hole for the wet ingredients, so you can do that. It doesn't really change much, but let's just do it for the funsies. Now let's grab our other bowl and we will start mixing the other ingredients here, starting by the 2 eggs, which we have to beat. These are my 2 eggs, and I'm gonna show you how I normally crack my eggs. So with the same spatula that I used to measure, I do a quick tap in the middle and then I open them up. I clean the inside of the shell with my thumb, like so, because once again, these are exact measurements, and if the recipe asks for 2 eggs, I include everything of the egg. Quick tap in the middle. This might have been a little bit too strong, but it still worked. And always do it in a separate place so that if a shell falls in, you can take it out. Nothing beats the crunchiness of a shell inside a cake. So clean it up and throw the shells away. Okay, I washed the egg off my hands, so we are ready to beat the 2 eggs. Here's my whisk and we are beating. Perfect. There we go. So in the bowl, we're going to get the bananas. Let me just put this aside. here they are. We're gonna do 1.5 cups of mashed ripe bananas. That's about 5. And I'm going to use a fork to mash them. If you have a smashed potato smasher thingy, you can use it. I'm gonna fast forward while I do the peeling and get everything ready. Let me just clean up a little bit. Clean up your work area as always, and I will start working with these bananas that my roommate wanted me to have really ripe. So I'll fast forward. There we go, last banana. Let me go through the peels, be right back. And I'm back. So with my fork or your potato smasher, whatever you have, let's get this going. Once again, fast forwarding. There we go. And I kind of think that I might have bent my fork, but look, this is how it looks. You know, you're gonna see some chunks. I might have bent my fork. I'll figure it out later. And you're gonna have some banana chunks there, but in all honesty, it's gonna be good. We're gonna mix everything else here. So let's start with the eggs. And we're gonna mix it a little bit. I use my scraper or spatula to clean up once again, just like I did with the eggshells. I do the same with the cup. So let's put all that eggs mix here. There we go, clean. Okay, now we're gonna work with our melted butter. So here is the bar of butter and it has the measurements on the side. So normally 1 bar equals half a cup of butter. So just put it in your microwave safe container or your liquid measuring cup and check on it every 10 seconds. Put it in the microwave, but don't just leave it there. Check on it. Be right back. Now we're gonna put the sugar in. So we're gonna do 1 cup of sugar. And since I'm not gonna be able to put the cup inside on this one, I'll just try to do as close as possible with being very careful to make sure that it's still an exact measurement. So let's get this going. Very close. Just a little bit more. There you go. 1 cup of sugar. See, there you go, even. And put it in your banana and egg mix. And now let's bring back the melted butter. There it goes. Half a cup of melted butter. And once again, check on it every 10 seconds to make sure that it doesn't burn or destroy your microwave. Let me clean up here a little bit. Bye, Jack. Bye, Jack. And let's get ready to get this all mixed. So we have bananas, eggs, and the 1 cup of sugar. I'm gonna mix it all in a little bit because I'm about to drop the hot butter or melted butter. And once again, I grab my spatula and clean the edges and the cup. Put all that in my recipe. There you go, clean cup. And now let's mix this all in. This is gonna go with the dry ingredients, but let's make sure that this is all even before we do that. See, the mix is gonna look lumpy, obviously, because it has the banana. So don't freak out. That's okay. That's how it should look. And now let's get it into our dry ingredient mix. Perfect. Once again, spatula, scrape the bowl and put all that in our mix. Perfect. All clean. Now let's get this mixed. Perfect. It's gonna look lumpy, so don't worry about it. Just make sure that everything is mixed, that you don't have any left flour in a corner of the bowl. See? Lumps. This is how it should be looking. Now next, we are going to be adding the walnuts and raisins, which technically are a quarter of a cup. However, my roommate asked to have a lot of nuts and raisins, so I'm gonna add just a little bit more than what it is. If you want to omit them, it's okay, but I have walnut and raisin fans. Might as well just put everything in. There you go. And the raisins. Yep, everything in. And this time we're just gonna fold it in. We're not gonna mix it, we're gonna just fold. Just so that it's all even in the mix. See, this is all done. We're ready. So grab your greased pan, perfectly greased pan, and we're gonna put all that in. Let me just clean up the whisk. And if you're imagining that I'm gonna also grab my spatula and clean the whisk, nah, you don't need to do that. However, my mom does clean it with her fingers, so just use your style. And now I'm gonna put the mix and probably almost screw up. Oop, grabbed it and put all that in. Clean the bowl so that all your mix goes in the pan. Perfect. Okay, so let's even it out a little bit, and you're gonna see this is heavy with all the nuts and raisins. So let's put it in the oven. On your oven, we're going to do 350 degrees Fahrenheit on turbo or bake for 55 to 60 minutes with the oven rack at the bottom, ready for baking. Now let's bring our little banana bread. Hello, Mr. Banana Bread. And it is still me. I'm not using a body double. I do my own stunts. And let's put this banana bread in. And wish him luck. He's going to grow. 55 to 60 minutes. Okay, 40 minutes later, it's looking handsome. And we're gonna get ready for something else. 15 minutes before it's ready, we're gonna put aluminum foil so that it doesn't get burned on the top, but it finished baking. So we're ready to protect yourself before taking the little banana bread, who is no longer little and it has grown a lot. And I'm gonna put the aluminum foil. And in it goes again for another 10 to 15 minutes. Almost done. Now to check if it's ready, I'm gonna show you my trick. I use a teaspoon, normal teaspoon. My mom presses with her fingers on the top to see if it bounces back. I use a teaspoon because I don't want to get burned, and I'm a coward, and it works. So instead of putting a toothpick or a knife, you would just open carefully and check if it's ready. So we uncover Mr. Banana Bread, and if it bounces back and you can feel the resistance, it's ready. If it sinks, then it probably needs a little bit more time. Mine is a little bit extra, but I think it's just fine. So it's ready to be taken out of the oven. So I'll turn this off, and we are going to take Mr. Banana Bread out of the oven. Look at that, so pretty. On a wire rack, we're going to let it cool inside the pan for 10 minutes. I give it a few shakes to make sure that it's not stuck to the pan. And if you did a good job greasing your pan, it shouldn't have any issues. So we're gonna leave it here 10 minutes to cool before taking it out. Okay, now that it's cool, we're gonna take it off the pan. And I'm gonna use a cheesy trick to take it out. Ha! Perfect! And it didn't stick to the pan, so good job with the grease. Now you can cool completely on a rack until tomorrow, or you can also put it in the fridge for a couple of hours before cutting it. So I'm gonna leave it overnight. See you tomorrow. Good morning, everyone. So we're ready to slice our banana bread. So I have a special knife for bread, for slicing bread. And as you can see, it has these little teeth. And these are the best knives to cut any type of bread. So let me get my little special plate to put my banana bread. And I'm gonna cut it here on my plate. And just slice it real nice. Very nice. As even as possible, but you know, it is what it is. So this is pretty much how it looks with the nuts, a lot of nuts and raisins. And you can just leave your little banana bread safe and nice. Good job. Okay, bye guys. Yummy.